Hey, I'm Patrick, the founder of Prospect. Hey, I'm Patrick, the founder of Prospect Labs, and recently I had a chance to work with Dojo Bali co-working space. This is a really cool co-working space in Canggu, and it's for entrepreneurs, startups, digital nomads, travelers, that sort of thing, to work in a really idyllic place. Part of the talk I did was for about an hour and a half on all growth hacking strategies. So things like LinkedIn lead generation, email marketing, analytics dashboards, basically everything I know combined in about 90 minutes. It's pretty intense, so if you don't like all of it, just skip to the parts you find relevant. And at any time, just send me an email, get in touch, and I'll be happy to help. Hope you find it helpful. Speak soon.
Hi everyone, hello. Thanks for coming. We're about to start with the event today with Patrick on generating more sales leads for your business. So it's going to be approximately a 1-hour event. So if you guys have any questions, just feel free to ask away. I think it's going to be more of a demonstrative kind of talk. And if you guys want to ask any questions, you might as well have it more at the discussion. And if you also have any questions that you want to ask to Patrick after the event, personally, you can also stay, as he's also going to be staying after the event. And yeah, that's it for me. We're also going to be streaming it to the YouTube live and share. The link is going to be shared into the Twitch community, so you can also have a look there if you're a member. And that's it for me. Hope everyone enjoys, and let's get started.
Cool, thank you. First thing, it's the first time I've ever done a talk in shorts and barefoot, so it's a nice change to have a bit more of a sort of relaxed atmosphere instead of suits and that sort of thing. Just before I get started, can I get a feel for what I should really cover? Because there's two things. One is lead generation, so things like how to make more sales, how to get more demos booked, how to get more meetings. And the other one is more about how to do a guest blog outreach. So how to contact influencers, how to get people to write guest blogs, to write for you. Who would prefer to talk just about lead generation? As in, who's desperate, just I want more business, more sales, that sort of thing. Who would like to know more about contacting bloggers and blog outreach and that sort of thing? And who would like to know both? Okay, so we'll start with lead generation, and then these skills will be applied to the other one as well. So a quick bit about me. My name's Patrick. I'm from the UK, but I live in Lithuania with my wife, Eddie, who's in the corner there. And we run this agency called the Leads Agency. And it's predominantly lead generation for startups, but we find that we work with a range of companies, so not just startups. And what I want to show you today is just how to basically get anybody's email address, anybody's LinkedIn profile, how to connect with them the right way, how to message them the right way, and how to generate business from that and how to automate it all. The total price for all this software I'll probably show you is probably maybe £50 a month, maybe £100 maximum. So it's not expensive, and the amount of business you should get from it, if you think of sort of business to business, is around about 40 to 50 companies a month replying and saying, yes, let's have a call, let's have a demo, and you should get a lot of business from this. So to get started, I just want to show you a few bits of software, and I'd quite like to have this quite interactive. So has anybody used this before called Crystal? Cool. Okay, so whenever I do talks, I always show this first, and people get really, really creeped out about how it works, but I think it's quite a good tool. So basically, Crystal is a Chrome plugin, and you see a little icon at the top right here. And the way it works is that if you go into somebody's LinkedIn profile and click View Personality, it gives you a full description of what that person's like. I'm just seeing it tomorrow. So it's pretty risky, but I've tried this on a lot of people, and they say it's always pretty accurate how they do. So speak to Tamara in terms of keep it friendly, bring the energy, don't be too blunt. She likes team spirit, she likes energy. And I don't know Tamara too well, but if I was to guess from the brief encounters I've had with her, I think this is quite accurate. And things like prefers casual conversation to formal, talkative, friendly, appreciates peers, I let the guard down, expect her to talk with her hands and use hyperbole to make a point. So there's loads of different things here of how to get to know a person. And if we try this, hi, come on in. If we try this with Harren, what do you think his personality is going to be like? So more confidence and gut instinct than formal structure, which can lead to bold but unpredictable decisions. Tends to be an optimist who works with energy and enthusiasm. Passion can be infectious, excellent social skills, naturally persuasive person. From what I've got to know about Harren, I would say that's perfect. So if you imagine these skills or this sort of information you can learn about strangers, it puts you sort of a step ahead. So can anybody shout out the name, or do you want to shout your name out, or I just want to see how accurate this is with people in the room to see. Do you want to try it? Go on.
Sure, it's Zoe, Z-O-E,
Yeah.
Bassett, B-A-S-S-E-T-T. I'm a student at the University of Exeter. Yeah, so like
Is that one?
undergraduate psychology, one more down.
That one?
That one,
Okay. So I don't use this too much, but the whole theory behind this, and this isn't for mass lead generation, there's somebody that you really want to impress, you want to connect with, you want to sell to, something like this. And let's see what it brings up. And it might not do anything. But the idea behind this is it tries to analyze, let's see if it works, it tries to analyze bits about your personality and how to connect with people. I'll see if this is loading up. Oh, no.
So
I think you broke the system, Zoe. So we'll see if that loads up. The other feature about this is it integrates with your email. So say I was going to send an email to you, Zoe. It would say in the email, don't say hi, say hello. Don't say how's things, say how are you. So it analyzes all of your email and LinkedIn messages to say how that person should be spoken to. I think it's a little bit too hardcore, and I think if you use this software too much, you'll just get lost in a world of analyzing everything instead of getting on with something. But the point I want to make here, the point I want to make here is that tools like this can really open you up to try and have a bit of an idea of how to message somebody. And one example I did is I copied this sort of section here and I used it to message people on LinkedIn. And I said, hi, I imagine you're the type of people who doesn't really like formal structure and you like a really sort of supportive environment. This is what I'd like to do and this is how I'd like to chat. Oh, here we go, tomorrow. Can you confirm if any of this is accurate? So likely to resist formal structure.
I just don't update it, to be honest.
No, this isn't your profile. This is analyzing your profile.
Likely to resist formal structure and
Collaborative, warm, supportive interactions.
Yes.
Keep it friendly and bring the energy. So if I was a stranger coming to you to try and sell to you, and I was friendly and full of energy, would you like that?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Would you say you're an optimist who works with energy and enthusiasm?
Yes.
Infectious passion, excellent social skills, naturally persuasive person.
I don't know.
When speaking to Tamara, interrupt her if the conversation's gone too long, emphasize the future, tell a few jokes. Would that work?
Yes.
Motivation. Tamara is most motivated by feeling accepted, peer recognition, and fun and excitement. When working with Tamara, collaborative frequently, confront conflict in a personal, not over email, spend time exploring new ideas. Yeah, so it's pretty good. So I think this is just a quick tool to show you, just to get us warmed up really, and that's called Crystal Knows. And you get a certain amount of free credits, and then you have to pay. But that links with email and it links with LinkedIn. So I think anybody in the room who has very few sales, so something like 1 or 2 a month or 1 or 2 a year or something, really high value sales, look at tools like this where you can try and learn everything about a potential prospect before you actually speak to them. Okay, so next thing here. LinkedIn. Can everybody put the hand up if they have a LinkedIn profile? Yeah, okay. The point I'm trying to make here is that everybody that you're ever going to sell to in the future is probably on LinkedIn. And if not everybody, the majority of them. So when you're thinking about how to generate new business, all of the people are on LinkedIn. So you don't need to check Google, you don't need to check forums, you don't need to buy lists. It's all on LinkedIn. The skill is how do you find those people? Has anybody used Sales Navigator before? Yeah, okay, good. So Sales Navigator, for those who haven't tried, is just an upgraded version of the free LinkedIn. And the reason I like to use Sales Navigator is a few things. One of them is you just have much more scope for how active you can be. So Sales Navigator, you can view something like 1,000 or 1,500 profiles a day, whereas free LinkedIn is about 1,000 to 1,500 profiles a month. So you can be much more sort of active in terms of what you want to do. The other thing on Sales Navigator is you can save searches, which you can't do for free LinkedIn. So by saving searches means that you can build a perfect database of who you want to target, save that, and it'll keep updating to say there's new people in that search that you should try and message. And to create your advanced search, I'm going to try this out now. So is anybody in the room that is trying to get more demos booked or more sales booked or something that we can try and find a target market for them? So I think, what's your business?
Lead generation.
Oh, so it's a similar thing. So if you were trying to, so say one of your clients you were targeting, can you give me some information, like say location first of all?
Let's say Australia.
Okay. And can you give me industry?
Let's go for medical devices.
So medical devices, and I'll use medical products just for the sake of getting a bit more data here. And titles. So do you have doctor, owner, head of sales? What do you think? So let's do a few, and they might not be relevant, but owner. Business owner, sales. Okay, and there's one other thing that I usually do, and that's the second degree or third degree, and I'll share in a second. So if you see here, this gives 2.3 thousand results. There's one other thing I would maybe do, and you see here where it says relationship, first, second, or third degree. Does everybody know what they are? Do you want me to quickly explain them? Make sense? Okay, cool. So imagine here, this is your database of 2,300 people that you want to connect with. And the two options you have, with that are connect with them on LinkedIn or email them. The software that I use for email is called this one, Snovio, snov.io. Has anybody used this software before? Cool. So the way this works is if you find a list of LinkedIn people like this, there's a Chrome plugin where you pick a list. So I'm going to say Dojo demo, find emails, and then that's it. And it takes about 30 seconds or a minute, depending on how things crash and that sort of thing. But what happens is that'll just scrape through this list and find the emails. And where it says start page and end page, you could say that to page 40 if you want to. However, I usually say this to say maybe 4 pages or maybe 10 pages maximum, just to scrape through all of this and get the email addresses for everybody. The way this tends to work is it finds the email address from a range of things. So has the person written a blog? Is it on the website? And then it tries to guess, I don't know, about 10 or 20 search strings. And then it shows you if it's validated or not. Are you using a similar software to find email addresses like this? Yeah. 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 And what software do you use?
A little bit different, but like Meet, have you heard of Meet Leonard?
No.
Yeah, similar sort of thing.
Oh, Meet Leonard. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So there's loads of software. There's Meet Leonard, there's Snovio. Meet Lemon. There's a software called Find That Lead, is very good. A software called Any Leads is very good. So what I'm showing you today isn't the be all and end all of you have to do it like this. This is just a version of how I do it and get some sort of good consistent results. So if we just stop that just for the second, and I'll show you the sort of results it brings. Just as an example, if it doesn't work, I'll go into the one here. Let's see. I'll show you an example. So what it'll do is it'll scrape through all the email addresses and find a list of them. And say an example of 500 profiles, this one found sort of 90 valid ones here. So I think for finding email addresses, the ratio I would say is anything from 1 to 5 to maybe 1 to 3. So when I'm scraping startup founders, they're usually a lot more public in terms of their email addresses everywhere. Whereas sometimes if you're trying to target self-employed people, maybe medical, maybe recruitment, they're sometimes harder to find the email addresses. But the point is from Snovio, you can turn this list of people, which is 2,500 people, into a database of all validated email addresses here. And that process, I would say, probably takes about 20 to 30 minutes to get around about 1,000 email addresses. And all of these are validated email addresses as well. So nothing that's going to bounce, nothing that's going to be unknown. You can risk for these ones if you want, which are unknown, but I recommend just going with validated email addresses. So can I get a bit of feedback from the audience in terms of target market? So is anybody, first of all, does anybody have a business where they're trying to get demos booked? So is anybody doing campaigns where they're trying to get somebody to have a meeting or a demo or anything like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you just tell me a little bit about that?
That's like one of my clients that has developed software for recruitment.
Okay.
So we're going after C-suite executives
Yeah.
from companies.
So in this context, what you do on LinkedIn is you would find the job roles, the area, keywords, you might find second degree connections, anything like that. But if you can bring a database here, once you have that database, you can just scrape all the email addresses and then that's the database there that you can target. The other cool thing about Snovio is that's the plugin for LinkedIn. However, if you do know there's a list of websites, for example, so say Dojo one, the same sort of thing. You can click and then it'll try and find any email addresses here. So say, I don't know if Michael would be a valid one or Lisa, and it'll go through and try and find out everyone's email address. The other way that I think is quite cool is this one here, which is called, I've only found this the past couple of days, but Recruitum, which is X-ray search. So basically the way this works is it tries to make the search string on Google for all the sort of information you want. So for example, we were saying Australia, weren't we? So Australia, sales manager, keywords, medical devices, something like that. So say the same context. So instead of searching for LinkedIn, if we search for here and then say open in Google, this is going to give a list of people here. One of the benefits of this is on LinkedIn, if you imagine, whenever you're connecting with somebody or trying to search for people on LinkedIn, LinkedIn's only going to show the results that are relative to your own profile. So for example, if we go back to LinkedIn here, it only shows 2,300 because I'm not based in Australia. I don't know many people in the medical practice. So the database that I can see is very small. I think if you did this, because you'll have a lot of second degree connections, you're based in Australia, your audience will be bigger. However, if you do this search and try and search via Google, it has no relative to your LinkedIn profile, your basis, anything. This is just trying to find people. In the same way, you can use Snovio and it'll bring all the people here and find the email addresses. So if you think, go on, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So you're pulling in all the emails or contacts from your Google search?
Yeah. Yeah. So if you think of the context of this for blogger outreach, recruitment, staff, people to join your Facebook group, just to make friends, anything you want, if you Google a list and you find a list of people that are relevant, it works really well. The reason why I say use this function here is because I think this tries to find it in the context of their LinkedIn profile. If you just do a Google search and type Sales Manager Australia, it's going to bring a lot of things that aren't necessarily relevant. But let's try it out because most of my searches I do via LinkedIn. But yeah, go for it.
So say you had you were starting like an online store and you have like competitors. Could
Yeah.
you put that onto their, so say it was like, I don't know, like Topshop.
Yeah.
And you could go onto Topshop. You were doing posts, sorry, you only wanted to get from Topshop. You could go onto Topshop, put that on and take on all their clients.
Not clients, all their
Their-
employees.
all
So
their-
all emails associated with them.
Okay, so it's not the people. It's not. That's what I thought. I was thinking.
No, not all the clients, but I'll show you. There's a few other
Okay,
bits
that
that
makes sense,
might
okay.
solve that problem. But yeah, that would be a nice thing to build if you find it. I think just on that point though, for stealing clients, the other things are a lot of not bigger companies, but smaller companies will post on Twitter or Facebook saying, welcome this company, great to be working with you. And they may do it on a daily basis. So I've worked with one company where we would just scrape every tweet that the company would say, post to somebody. So sometimes people are quite open of saying, this is my client, welcome, great to be working with you. But in all honesty, that's a bit sneaky. And I think you should be good enough that you can go direct to them instead of trying to maybe steal them. But we'll come back to that. So I think if I just do a Google search like this, the results are totally random and it doesn't really work. So I think if you use this software, so Recruitum, this is amazing because then you can find all the right people. Let's see if it works again. Yeah, via Google, and then you can scrape. And the good thing about Google is I think it gives you maybe 100 pages. So the amount of data you get is probably a little bit bigger than you can get from LinkedIn as well. So does that all make sense? Yeah, go.
Are you using DuckSimple and something?
Yeah, that's the next thing. Yeah. So that's basically it for how I get email addresses. And I do this for maybe 15, 20 companies a month. And I can easily do it myself of just get the emails, which I spend maybe a day a month or maybe a day a week just topping things up. But to get 1,000 or 2,000 validated emails for a really targeted market doing this is really quick and really easy. And as I say, this Snovio software is about $50 a month, and I'm not affiliate anything. It's just, it works. It's a good software. If you want to look for other ones, I'll just quickly show you them. This one is pretty cool. Their customer service is the worst in the world, but their software is really good and it's cheap. So it's sort of trying to balance out what you want to do. And then there's one other one which is a good match in terms of their software is really good, their customer service is really good, but it's still quite early stage in terms of the results that they bring aren't always that great. But I think between Snovio, Find That Lead, or any leads, you should be able to get anybody's email address basically ever, which is a big boost to have. I think the final few steps with regards to email addresses, if we come to here, are the software that I use for email campaigns is called Mailshake, but I want to show you that, how I use it for blog outreach. So I think we'll come back to that. But the process is basically go on to LinkedIn and find your audience, scrape all the email addresses, and then upload it to an email campaign, send it out, and that's it. And if you did that alone, you generate a huge amount of business in terms of responses. People want to speak to you. If you're an early stage company, just emailing people for feedback is really good. If you're a bit further down the line, just pitching your services, that sort of thing works really well. The next software here, if you imagine that's email, the next software here is DuckSoup. So DuckSoup has about 32,000 customers at the moment. And Jin, who's over there, she does the customer service on US time zone. So if you ever want to harass her, just go on live chat just there and give her loads of trouble. And on European time zone, it's often Eddie in the corner, sometimes myself as well. So my role is the customer service, the marketing, writing blogs, different things for the software, and trying to convince the owner to update the website is my main priority. But this tool is incredible. So does anybody use any automation tools for LinkedIn at the moment? So, or is anybody using LinkedIn to get any business at the moment? Yeah. A few. Okay, so LinkedIn is incredible because, like I've shown you, if you go to LinkedIn here, I'll try this across. Your audience is here, so potentially there's 2,300 people here that want to work with you. The only reason they don't want to work with you yet is they don't know about you. If you send a cold email, cold emails can work very well. However, people don't always like to be emailed because it's quite intrusive. You're emailing somebody without them signing up, without them saying they're interested, anything like that. When you think about LinkedIn, somebody has to accept a connection request, and that accept is almost like shaking hands to say, yes, I'm willing to hear you, pitch your services, that sort of thing. And the way DuckSoup works, so this is the plugin here, is it automates everything. So if you want to connect with 50 or 100 people a day, this software will do it all for you. And I want to give you a quick example of how it works. So these are the settings, and I think it's okay, but it's still not really easy to get set up straight away. So I just wanted to quickly go through this with you. And this software is is it £15 or $15?
Depends.
Okay, pounds or dollars. But anyway, it's really cheap for the amount of business you can generate from this. So the way it works is you can set up if you want to send a first degree message or connect with second degree. So first degree are people that are already connected with you, whereas second degree are sort of strangers, but you have a friend in common. And with regards to the connection message, I think this is really important how you connect with this. One of the things that, in my opinion, I'd say people make the mistake is that they connect as a business, not as a person. And if you think people say there's B2B, which is business to business, and there's B2C, which is business to consumer, LinkedIn, it's sort of H to H, so human to human, because you're not selling your product here. What you're trying to do is say to people, this is who I am as a person, this is why I'd like to connect, can we be friends? That's basically it. So I think in your connection message, and just to give you an example of what a connection message is, I'll go.
How does the software make sure you don't get blocked by the algorithm?
So I'll explain in a second. So let me check one.
Because I just got blocked by them and then unblocked
Which
them. Now I'm
software were you
trying to-
using?
It's called LinkBit.
Yeah.
Free.
So-
Yeah.
You would be an example customer that would message Jin and say, why do I keep getting blocked? And there's a few things. Do you randomize how you connect on a daily basis? Do you connect with more than 100 people a day?
Kind of did for 2 days.
So there you go, yeah. Do you withdraw pending invites? Because that's another one.
No, but
Yeah.
I was full, so I couldn't.
But that's what I mean, you have to withdraw them.
Yeah.
Because if you don't withdraw, LinkedIn can tell that you're automating it. So
Yeah.
maybe once a week or every 2 weeks, you have to withdraw and start again. So there's a few different reasons, but there's a few things. Within DuckSoup, they've built the algorithm to make sure you don't get blocked. But at the same time, you have to make sure you don't go like crazy. So it's sort of slow and steady all the time. So just regards to a connection message, I just want to explain what a connection message is, and it's this one here. So it's you connecting with a stranger to say, hi, I'd like to connect. This is what I want to do. So going back, and I'll come back to this. So going back to DuckSoup, what I would do is I would make a first degree connection message here that is just something like, who I am, I'm passionate about this, would be great to connect. I really don't recommend you say anything like, this is my website, we do this for this, do you want to try it out? Because that's, if you have the analogy of meeting a person face to face, you wouldn't just shout at a stranger. You would say, have you got 2 minutes? Can I have a chat? I'm Pat, this is what I do. So imagine this connection message is the small talk. It's the getting to know somebody. It's not the go straight into the sale. So what this software does is it automates all of the initial connections. On top of that, I choose this, endorse top 1 skill. It's just a nice thing. So when you connect with somebody, a lot of people will reply straight away and say, thanks for endorsing me, how's things? And it starts the conversation. You don't have to do it, but I just find it's just that little thing that helps break the ice as well. A few other things with DuckSoup, and these are the points you've talked about in terms of how not to get blocked. So I'll skip any one outside of my network. So if I'm trying to send a connection message, I'll only connect with second degree. So second degree is someone I have a friend in common. I'll never connect with third degree. The other one, I'll always skip if the photo's blank. The reason behind this is that if they don't have the attention to detail to add an image, they're probably not that active on LinkedIn. And if they're not active, they're not going to speak to me. The other thing is history skipper. I'll always never visit the same profile. So by this, what I mean is that I'm always trying to connect with some people, and if I've already viewed the profile, I'm going to skip and move on to the next one. I think your question about speed and how to get so caught up and that sort of thing is this one here called throttling. So basically, I'll set it to visiting profiles is the slowest. So I want to send 50 connection messages maybe per hour, but spread throughout the day if I can do. And then pause for, I'll probably change these to maybe pause for 5 minutes after 10 visits. So it'll gradually work through the day. And then when it gets to the amount of profile visits that I'm happy with, it'll just stop and start the next day. So if you get this right in terms of find your, let's see back here, if you find your target market here, and I'll quickly do this for a new search just to show you how it works. If you find your target market, you can just press start, and every day it'll just do 50 a day. So if you imagine my target market are probably startup founders in the UK, something like that. So the way DuckSoup works is when you find your audience, it's the Chrome plugin. If all your settings are okay, if I click visit profiles, I don't know if the settings are, it might work, it might not. But what I'll just start doing is visiting profiles. And if it starts working, you'll see in the bottom corner a little screen where it starts to send a connection message, personalized to the person's first name, their company name, the industry, or anything like that. The first time I started working with this, I just found it really fun and neat just how you see the screen in the bottom corner if it shows up. But I think the biggest thing is that when I first started lead generation, I thought everything has to be mega bespoke in terms of every connection message I send is a personalized message. And it doesn't need to be at all. What needs to be bespoke is the follow-up message. So for this, I would say for all my clients, I probably do 50 to 100 connection messages per day. And that's it. It's just going and going and going every day. And this alone should drive a lot of business. And so are you using a tool like this for LinkedIn at all?
Yeah.
And which tool do you use?
Yeah,
Meet Leonard, yeah, okay. So Meet Leonard's good. I think the comparisons are with, I think the big risk with LinkedIn tools are LinkedIn don't want you to automate anything. So all of these softwares out here are trying to make sure that they're not, LinkedIn can't find out you're using the software. With Meet Leonard, one of the downfalls of it is you have to connect your LinkedIn account, don't you? So I think your password and username. And so by that, it means that LinkedIn are tracking your IP and cookies when you log in. Whereas if you use a Chrome extension, it's not via your IP address, it's via, I don't know, something differently. So it's just a little bit less risk if you use something like this. I think there's another tool called Linked Helper, which is quite good as well. But there were quite a few softwares on the market anyway for LinkedIn automation. But if you can be doing this, if you imagine a little bit of work in the morning or once a week, you can have your email audience, you can have your LinkedIn audience, press start, automate, and at the end of the day, check your emails, check your LinkedIn messages, and that's it. You've got a load of people replying to you saying, sounds great, can we have a chat, that sort of thing. And there's a load of detail I can go into with this, but I want to show you some other bits. But I think that the majority of this is just purely the speed and automation of how you can do things. And it's not like it's mass marketing of just message anybody. This is personalized to their location, their keywords in the title, their first name, their industry, really relevant things. And if you get the connection message well, it works really well. I think just quickly in terms of the follow-up, I'm still in two minds sort of how to do this. So I get really good results just by tenacity in terms of if we connect with 1,000 people, 500 accept, maybe 100 will lead to conversations and 50 will say, yes, let's have a chat or something like that. A lot of people say that they would prefer to do like a bit more small talk. So say, for example, yourself, if I send you a LinkedIn connection message, I don't think you would always react well to say, okay, we're now friends, can I sell to you? You might be better if I say, how's business going? How's this going? Any help with anything? However, I just don't have the patience to do that. And I think if I connect with somebody and I share something that's interesting and polite and relevant to them, and they're interested, they'll just get back to me and say, yeah, that sounds good, let's have a demo. So I always make sure that my follow-up is not hardcore, can I sell something? But it's hardcore in terms of, this is what I'm doing, here's an example of a case study, here's an example of a blog, here's an example of what we do. Do you mind, if this is relevant to you, do you want to have a chat? And that alone just works again and again for all my clients just to get demos from them. There's one other thing on top of that. All of these people that don't reply, at the end of every month, I'll send them another automated follow-up message that will just say, hope you're well. I know LinkedIn, sometimes notifications are not too good. Just want to check if you've read my message and if you'd like to have a chat. And so by doing that, it's just automation constantly. So for anybody here working in marketing, customer service, sales, recruitment, anything like that, these two tools just fast track everything in terms of find your target market, find emails, find LinkedIn addresses, and just automate it. I think the final bit after this that's really critical and what some people slip up with is what do you do when people reply? So I'll generate a lot of business with people, I'll pass over the lead, and they don't really know how to speak to that person. My honest advice, and I think that's a separate sort of chat, but my honest advice is try and get them to have a call straight away. So if you want to email them or if you want to call them or things like that, but try and get them into the position where they can say, can I speak to you? Because it's so easy just to not respond to LinkedIn or not respond to email. But when you've had a chat with somebody and you've had sort of 30 minutes or an hour or even face-to-face, it's much harder to let them down. And if you work with people in the UK, for example, they're too polite to say no. So they'll probably listen to you, probably have a talk, and that gives you a chance to sell to them. In the US, it's maybe more difficult. But in the UK, we're scared to say no. So we'll say, yes, let's have a demo. And it sometimes can backfire because you waste your time. But often you get your foot in the door, you speak to people, and you find out different things. One other quick question on this. Does anybody use software for booking in demos? So there's a software called Calendly or anything like that?
Use Book Like a Boss.
Book Like a Boss. I've not used it, but it sounds good. And is it just about sending a link? Do you send a link to somebody, or is it like a AI automated?
You send them a link,
Yeah.
and you get a page, like a LinkedIn page,
Yeah.
for all your different kinds of bookings,
Yeah.
like Calendly. But even better, I have an iframe for one type of booking.
Yeah.
So depending on the kind of chat, like a 15-minute or 30-minute, I can set up my availability for that kind of lead.
Okay. Perfect. So this is really good. So if you imagine somebody's interested, so many people will reply back and forward, I'm free at 5 on Friday. I'm not free. 3 o'clock on Wednesday. No. It's just painstakingly to watch. So there's a few softwares that I recommend. So this one called Continually is quite cool. And this is really early stage, so they're not launched yet, but I'm working with them just to get them off the ground. Basically, they're a chatbot which helps you get bookings automated. And I'll show you, I think, I've got an example here. Here we go. So this would be your page, and this is like a demo page. So whenever you get, say, connection on LinkedIn or email, and somebody replies to you to say, sounds good, can we book a call? I would always give them this link, and when they go to the link, you can then automate this to make it a little bit more interactive. And the good things about this are you can ask them a few more questions, but it's all automated. But you can ask them questions, for example, can I know what your website is? Can you let me know what your budget is? Where did you hear about us? What software are you using at the moment? And then the final question can be, do you want to book a time that's suitable? Now, this is great because if they answer all those questions and you get an email with these, you might think, well, actually, they're not suitable. I don't speak to them. However, if you just give somebody a link and they book in straight away, you haven't done that much research. The other thing as well is it's all automated that you can just book and sort of pick a time that's suitable for you. So instead of back and forward, you can just sort of book a link here. If you don't want to use that, there's this software, Calendly. which is really good as well. The same thing, but not automated. It's just a link where you can say, just book a time in. And then there's one more. I think it's called yeah. Has anybody used this yet? Yeah. So there's sort of pros and cons. So this is quite, well, it's very clever because it's an automated bot that called Amy or what's the mail? I forgot. Most people use Amy, I think. But anyway, if you have an email and somebody says, yes, I'd like to have a call, you CC amy.x.ai, and it's a sort of an automated bot that will speak to the person and say, are you free this time? What about this time? I'm free this time. Can you let me know? And people on the other side think this is a real person, which is great because it automates things. The downside I've had is when customers start a request to speak to Amy, otherwise they don't want to have a call because they've built a relationship with this person. And so when you're trying to explain to a client that it's actually just a bot and the person doesn't exist, it's a weird call. So that's the downside. But I've seen a startup do this really well where they've sent an email campaign to something like 10,000 companies, and in the link they've CC'd this person. And all the people who've replied and say, sounds good, their bot was just replying. So they just massively batched an email campaign, and then the calendar just filled up. So this is really good. However, I would go for the paid version because on the email, it'll say powered by X.I, click here to book get your account or something. And it gets really confusing of what's the software and what's the trial. So I think regardless of what software you use, the point is that the second somebody, literally the second somebody says, sounds good, send them a link and say, happy to have a call, here's my link, get it booked in. And if you can jump on that speed of enthusiasm, so if somebody replies here and says, yeah, happy to have a chat, I'll send them a link, say, let's book a call, and that's it. My job's done. So lead generation, and then the salesperson is now going to speak to them and have a call. That all seem okay so far? I know it's a lot of stuff, but does that make sense? Yeah. Final bits on lead generation, and I'll move on to the other stuff. I think analytics. So does anybody use an analytics dashboard? So something like Google Analytics is just for Google Analytics, but does anybody use something to see the whole business? I think in the corner there was somebody shouting.
No, it's
No worries. So I'm obsessed with analytics, and I say the word context like 100 times a day, because what I want to know is not how many emails are sent, how many LinkedIn connections, but how many are sent in relation to traffic, in terms of signups, that sort of thing. So I think this is an example of a dashboard I'll share with a client, and it's nothing too complicated, but it's purely what's going on with the LinkedIn campaign, what's going on with emails, what's the split, so we can try and see what's better for their business, and how are we doing compared to our goals. So for this one, we're way ahead, so we're sort of slowing down a bit for this client and getting ready for next month. But what I find is that this is really really pretty to look at in terms of if you've got lead generation for clients, or if you've got a client that you want to sort of display what you're doing, these sorts of reports are amazing. And they do a few other things. So I set this up. So on a daily basis on Slack, I get an alert to say how many emails opened and clicked, who replied, how many leads I've got. And what's great about this is that when I've got some of my staff working with clients, I always know on a daily basis or weekly or whatever I want to do where we are up to. And you can either do this for you as a business monitoring things, or you can do this to send to your clients. So if you have a client where you're doing SEO, you're doing email marketing, you're doing sales, you can ask them to download the DataBox app, you give them a login details, and then they get sent messages on however many alerts they want. The other thing as well is you can get alerts on, has traffic hit a certain size, have you hit a certain target, a certain revenue, things like that. So if you think about this whole flow of LinkedIn, of getting all the data, Synovio or Find That Lead, something like that for getting the emails, Ducksuit for targeting LinkedIn, and then I think a sales CRM like something like this, I would say HubSpot. Sales CRMs you can go into it for hours and hours, but you just need somewhere where you're keeping all of your information. The most simple is just a Google Doc if you want, but make sure you don't reply to a lead on LinkedIn and that's it, you forget about them. Make sure you add it to a system where you can come back to it and say, did I chase these up? Did they sign up? Did I follow them up? The reason why I like HubSpot is it's free, which is really good for most of what you need, and it integrates with HubSpot to DataBox to give you these sorts of reports in terms of leads against goals, in terms of email via LinkedIn, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So does anybody have any question on lead generation, first of all? Because I'm here tomorrow and later today as well to go through in detail. But does that seem okay at that sort of whole flow? Yeah? Cool. So I want to show you, Tamara, can you help with? I've got another section here, but I want to make sure that.
Yeah.
I want to show this screen.
Yeah, that's fine. It'll still show.
Yeah. Okay. So, can everybody see this okay? Yeah, perfect. So I want to show you how I apply the same sort of ideas, but this is for targeting bloggers. And just to make clear the goals for bloggers. So this company, Zevo Health, asked to work with me. And what they want to do is they want to get more people just in Ireland writing about them. So they have different things of like cold calling, emailing to generate new leads, but they want to just try and get their name out there a bit more. And they're all about workplace wellness, so mental health and nutrition, meditation, things like that. So the goal with them was how to find bloggers in Ireland that are relevant, that we can speak to and get them to do one of maybe three things. So one is get them to write a guest blog for Zevo Health for free, get them to link their website or blogs on their site to Zevo Health, and then maybe become an affiliate or something like that in the future. So I'll quickly run through the whole method of how I did this. So first thing, has anybody used a software called Podio? Yeah, cool. So Podio is amazing. It's really, really flexible in terms of loads of stuff you can get up with, but it's the equivalent of, you could use Google Drive instead, you could use Wunderlist or Trello. There's lots of different things, but this is just my like virtual office of where I keep everything. And I create an app which is just called Bloggers. And so my goal is, how do I find all the bloggers in Ireland that are going to be relevant? So the software I use is this one here, BuzzSumo. And this is a really easy to use software in terms of typing in keywords and bringing out a list of all relative influencers that you might want to work with. So if you have a look here, so buzzsumo.com, if I have a look, does anybody want to shout some examples of influencers? So is anybody trying to get, does anybody have a site where they would like someone to write guest blogs for them? Anything like that?
Or just to write about them.
Yeah, I'll just write about them. So for example, for this company, this is what I did. Ireland, not journalist companies, bloggers, influencers are people, search bios, mental health.
Is it paid to?
Hmm.
You get 1 month free, 1 month free.
Yeah, you get a 30-day trial, and then I think it's £100 for the month. But you can really, all the information from that would last you months and months and months. It's something like 20 or 30,000 companies you can get from it. So my process for this was, I filtered by Ireland, I filtered by anybody that has in the bio mental health. You can search by content shared, but it isn't as relevant. So what I would do is I would go through all these people, try and see anybody that I think is relevant, and just quickly, I might choose that person. If you want to do this really sort of high quality, you can have a look and filter by page authority, domain, number of followers, that sort of thing. Because this target market was Ireland, where the audience was a lot smaller, we wanted just more volume than just the highest. The other thing as well is they didn't want to pay for any of these bloggers. So we're trying to look for people that are very educated and want to write good content, but don't have a massive audience that they want to charge for it. So for this, I would go through all of these and just see if somebody has a website like this. Really dodgy website, but just for the case of this. And then from here, this software, Synovio again, I would click and see if it could find the email address. And if it could, I would scrape all those email addresses, and that's sort of step one of finding their data. If I show you a few examples of companies that we found, yeah, so this one here, Gillian McGrath. So my approach for a blog outreach is using BuzzSumo. I want to find anybody that's relevant. And if you go back to here, you see all of these people that could be relevant. And if you go through them one by one, you'll start finding the blogs, and you need to think, you need to think, is this person relevant? Do I like the blog? That sort of thing. If you do think they're relevant, then you need to figure out what information will make it feel like it's a bespoke campaign. So with regard to my team, I will say to them, can you find 200 bloggers like this? And can you find the following details? And this is the information here. Can you see that? It's a bit small. I think it's okay. So few things. I want them to find the website, and I want them to find the blog title. I also want to find the blog link. And then this one's really important, especially the idea of. So I want them to show that although we're scanning through their blog really quickly, the blogger feels like we've read their blog, we're a big follower of them, and we'd really like to work with them. And this sort of approach here, and then the other only thing is the category. So for this person here to research emotional intelligence, the first name, especially idea of that blog, website, blog title, and featuring blog link. And if we send that email, we upload up into this software, Mailshake, and it looks like this. So do you see the merge tag? So first name, blogs on category. I found your blog post, featured blog title. I really like the idea of, especially the idea of. So it's sort of mass bespoke. It sounds a bit stupid, but it takes quite a long time to go through the blogs and find something you like, but then you send it out at 300, 400, 500 at a time if you want to. And it just works incredibly well. So if you have a look at something, I'll let you have a look at these. So there's email 1, email 2, email 3, and I'm happy to share all these templates and everything like that with everybody. But if you have a look at how the email looks, here we go. So that's the actual email sent. Sometimes you've got to be careful with your research that the merge tags just flow really well and it goes well. But you can see here, that's the merge tag, emotional intelligence, 5 remedies. I really like the idea of respecting and putting your needs in first place. So we sent that on mass scale, and this is the response. Thanks for getting in touch and your lovely feedback on my article, The Disease to Please. Feel terrible because none of my team actually read a blog. We scanned the blog title, scanned the link, and then put it in. However, it's not us that needs to like this. It's their company and our client working together. And from this, just to give a context of sort of numbers, let's have a look here. Yeah, so we've got, this was from maybe 3 weeks work. So there's 54 in the process of writing, 36 not replied yet, 15 wanted to be paid, 9 have written blogs, and out of the 66 sent. So I think pretty much everyone has either said, yes, I want to work with you, but I'm paying, I want to be paid, or yes, I want to work with you, I'm going to write it now. And so in the process of doing this, we were going to do this for maybe 2-3 months, but they said after a month, well, we've got 50 or 60 bloggers, that's it, let's just build these relationships. And what's really great about this is that now you've got this army of bloggers wanting to work with you. So if you imagine every time you post a blog, message all of these bloggers and say, we've written a new blog, do you mind featuring on your site? Do you mind posting on social media? You've got 50 or 60 affiliates, 50 or 60 retweets, 50 or 60 different people that you can get feedback on. And building this sort of blogger audience is incredible because if you imagine they've got 60 blogs there, so that's 1 blog a week or 1 blog a month for however long they want. And all these bloggers are PhDs, nutritionists, sports psychologists, really trained up people that would write a lot better than you hiring a customer service or just a general content writer. So the quality of the blogs are really passionate. You've built up relationships. It hasn't charged you anything apart from the time it takes just to connect with them. And it's a really good way to go. And I think one of the side things of this is if you target the right people, they'll sometimes say, well, actually, your software looks good. Can I try it out myself? So you will get a few clients wanting to work with you as well as write guest blogs. Yeah, go for it.
And how does the website find bloggers? Is it like a scraping tool?
Yeah, so do you mean this one, the BuzzSumo? Yeah, so it's a few things. So it'll find it based on their bio. So I'll often look for people who've got the bio and Twitter bio. I think sometimes it checks Facebook as well, or you can filter by content shared. So anybody who's shared, don't use on. Anybody who's shared content based around topics you're looking for. But I think this works really well just by filtering all from Twitter profiles. So that's the really, really bespoke version. So if you would wanted to maybe target 200 bloggers to get lots of guest blogs, I would recommend that way. However, to sort of finish off with your questions, this is the ultra scalable, generic, thousands of messages and just attack. So has anybody used this, SEMrush? Yeah. So this is awesome. I've never really used this too much, but I've worked with a company who recommended this. I'm starting to really like it. I don't know what the results are going to be like compared to Bespoke, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be better. So the way this works is once you're logged in, you create a sort of all the keywords of your target market, you put in all your competitors, you put in as much information as you can to tell SEMrush, this is the type of audience I want to target. And if you have a look at this tool called Link Building, it'll then come up with, say, 3,000 different blogs, websites, forums, communities, everything relating to your company. So if we have a look here, prospects. So we start with 3,000. My team are just going through them. Can you see that? Yeah. So this just gives you a list of all people that you might want to have a relationship with. And there's loads of different things that you can do. So we're going through these, and the relationship is, are they relevant? So are they linked, in this case for DuckSoup? Are they relative to LinkedIn software? If they are, what sort of category do they fit into? So can we do a guest post for them? Can they link back to our site? Can they do a product review? Have they already written an article and they can link back to us? Or have they written a blog like the top 100 LinkedIn tools, that sort of thing? And as we've gone through and organized all of these, once you're happy with them all, I think we'll have in progress here. Once you're happy with them all, you just click email and it'll email all of these saying different templates. So for this one, for example, this is in the section guest post. So if I have a quick look, so this is going to contact this company and say, hi, I'm the head of marketing at DuckSoup. We do a lot of stuff about LinkedIn. Can we write a guest blog for you? If you go back to something like this one, add a link to article, we're going to email them and say, I see you've written this article. I think DuckSoup would be really relevant to your audience. Do you mind adding a link? That sort of thing. And all of this is automated. So you're not doing any research in terms of finding email addresses, finding names, that sort of thing. Which is great because it's massive scale. My only worry about this is it's not bespoke. It's not to a first name. So if we email info at somebody, there's a good chance it might bounce back, or there's a good chance it'll just get passed around to people. Whereas if you do a bespoke target message to a guest blogger, it's much more likely they're going to open and reply. But I think with this took maybe 10, 15 minutes to get 3,000 profiles. The slow thing is actually filtering them in terms of who's going to do a guest blog, who's going to do a review, that sort of thing. But if we get this right, we're then going to send email to like 3,000 people, and that's going to have months and months, if not years, amount of work for people wanting to work with us in terms of guest blogs, linking back to us, that sort of thing.
Could you also use this for influencer marketing, like if you had a product and you wanted them to do a post about it?
Yeah, 100%. So in your keywords, you would mention maybe competitors, you'd mention hashtags, mention websites, mention location, all these certain things until you build this sort of matrix of your perfect target market.
And then you can edit templates.
Yeah, so all the templates are bespoke. So you can have,
okay.
yeah, so you could have a template saying, hi, first name, I recently read your blog. So this is why I wanted to show you both approaches, because what you might do is, if we go back to something like this, you might create a template like this that tries to feel quite bespoke, but you might use it on a tool like this where it just sends it out to thousands and thousands, not just 100 or 200, that sort of thing.
Okay. And this is blog influencers only, not like Instagram.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be on Instagram. I'm not 100% sure. It shows Facebook and Twitter. I don't know if you use it for Instagram.
Sorry.
Sorry. I don't know, to be honest, because I know that there are some other Instagram tools I can share with you. But I think most of this to work is somebody who has a blog, because the goal of this is to get them to link back to your site.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there'll be different ways, but this is really good for anybody that feels that somebody has an audience that has a blog and that you want to target them in mass scale. So if you think you're an early stage company, want to grow really quickly, get loads of guest bloggers to write for you, write for their blogs, have your site or your software listed on their site, and it drives a lot of traffic. And again, this whole process is just automated. So there's always a little bit of manual work to get the data set ready, and then using these tools, just go for it. So big recap, then I'll answer any questions if there are. So lead generation, my sort of biggest advice is become an expert on LinkedIn for finding your audience. So start to get used to things like, what industry are people? How do they call themselves in terms of the job title? What location are they? What key skills do they have? These sorts of things. Then once you've found that audience on LinkedIn, try and use two tools. So one such as DuckSoup for connecting with LinkedIn, and then one such as Snovio for getting all the email addresses. Once you have all of that information, DuckSoup will be running and connecting with people. Try and use some sort of sales CRM, like a HubSpot CRM, Salesforce. There's loads of CRMs out there. If you just Google CRM, there's hundreds there. And then the final thing is, if you really want to be detailed, try and use some sort of analytics dashboard just to see how everything's working. And I think that's the whole flow of how lead generation works. I think to summarize blog outreach, the thing that works the most out of the past couple of years I've done this is this bit here, especially the idea of. So many bloggers will be contacted to say, hi, I like your blog, can I write a guest blog? And they just say next. The amount of people that reply, and it's something like, I would say, actually we can see stats here. So Out of sent email, 87% opened and 72% clicked, and I'm not sure how many replied, but it's really, really high because everyone is bespoke in terms of, I like your blog, I read this, I learned this is what I do, can I introduce myself? So I think that approach works really, really well to try and get the bespoke data and then target. So I think, Rita, your business, you want to target hotels, find all the hotels' blogs, find what you like about the blog, something you've learned about the blog, and then send hundreds of emails this way, and it works perfectly. So does that seem all okay for those 6,000 bits of software I've just shown you in 1 hour? Yeah, go for it.
In terms of like a percentage of like time,
Yeah.
how much time do you spend doing the LinkedIn part?
I'll show you actually. So yeah, exactly. So so in terms of clients, so this is one client, so I spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, and that's email and LinkedIn. This one 40 minutes, this one 50, an hour, 16. So I would say if you just doing it for your own business, I would say an hour a day doing this all. You could maybe do a day a month where you just get all of LinkedIn, all of email, everything ready, and just click send and get it set up. But I can manage to do this for about 5 or 6 clients at a time, with getting the data, with doing LinkedIn, with doing email, that sort of thing. And even that, it's still 4 or 5 hours a day. So I think the speed of which you can do this is incredible. And I think the one thing that you can slow down, so Eddie does the same thing with me in terms of LinkedIn lead generation. I'll send a follow-up, just loads of them, whereas Eddie will bespoke, look at the business, look at why they should connect, add a bit of small talk, and her results are much better than mine. I'm just impatient, so I'd rather push and push and push, whereas Eddie's a bit more bespoke. So it depends on your approach. And I think the other thing is it depends on the value of the customer. If your sales are £1,000 a client and you want 2 or 3 a month, then keep it more bespoke. However, if you've got a software that's £20 a month and you want hundreds of customers, then it doesn't have to be too bespoke. It needs to be more about volume, finding the audience, and then maybe bespoke in terms of follow-up messages or email onboarding or that sort of thing. There's one final software that I want to show you that's not linked to this, but I've heard a few people talking in the co-working space, and I think this is awesome. So final one's called Sales Machine. So this links to Intercom, and it turns Intercom into a CRM. So if you imagine on Intercom, you have all those users and you have segments of didn't sign up, did sign up, big user, small user, paid, didn't pay, loads of things. And Intercom's really, really messy. And on Intercom messaging, you can't have pending. You only have open or closed ticket, which is really messy. So the way Sales Machine works is it turns, and I'll see if I can show you here, it turns all of your Intercom into segments to say, how healthy are my customers? So for this company here, they can say for their largest clients, there's 49 of them, we have one person who hasn't done what we want to do. We need to call them and get them back as a good customer really quickly. And I find anybody in customer service, account management, this tool is just incredible for us at a glance, trying to figure out what to do. Because if you don't have this on a daily basis, you're thinking, do I need to chase somebody up? Do I need to try and follow them? Do I need to email them? Are they doing what they need to do? Whereas if you set all the triggers here, it just works really well. So I can have a look at this company and say, let's see the reloads here, who in the different segments, like here, the small pharmacies, they're not given enough attention to detail for the smaller businesses, which they need to trigger. If you have a look at the same information on Intercom, and I'll just quickly show you this, it's just chaos in terms of what you're trying to do. And I'll just show you this and then I'll finish off. There you go. So that same data here in terms of how you're looking at is so much easier for business owner just to say, okay, that person, I need to ring them. If you look at this, it's so hard to say, well, who's my best user? Who's my worst user? And I know there's different segments and different things, but if you're using Intercom, this is a lifesaver and really, really helpful. And customer service is really good in terms of they'll do demos, they'll set up, that sort of thing. So it's a little bit aside, but I just wanted to show you that as something that if you're in account management or if you use Intercom, this will save you loads of time. Does that all seem okay? Cool. So I'm going to be here probably for another hour or two, and then I've got my last day here tomorrow working. So if anybody wants to ask anything about this, wants me to look at templates that you send, LinkedIn settings, email campaigns, or if you do anything different that you think could improve how I do things, so particularly yourself, I'd love to exchange ideas, because I'm really proud of what I do, but I'm no way the best in the world at it. I want to be by just getting better and better. And this is why I want to be in this environment, to learn from smarter people than myself. So please get in touch and say, that sucks, you should do it this way. And that's what I love to improve. Okay, cool, thank you very much. Hey, I hope you found the video helpful. A few things to remember. You don't need to use every single bit of software. Just try on one individual bit, test it out on something like LinkedIn or email marketing, get some good results, and then start adding other software on top of that. A few bits of information as well. As you can tell, I'm no longer in Bali. By the snow by the background, you can see I'm back in my office in Vilnius. In the next couple of weeks and months, I'll be recording a load of videos really breaking down things like how to find your perfect LinkedIn audience, how to use sales CRMs, how to use analytics dashboards, and how to automate the whole process to really drive more sales for your business. Hope you find it helpful, and anytime you need some help, just send me an email and keep in touch. Speak soon.